Thank you everybody for being here. That's quite an audience. I think I've never talked in front of so many people at a time. Thank you also so much for the organizers for putting all this together. Today I want to talk about a study where we investigated whether young children from 3 different societies exchange reasons to resolve disagreements. And this is a cross-cultural project. This cannot be done by only one person, so I also want to thank my collaborators from the US, from China, and from Kenya, and a special thank you to Antonia Langenhoff, who will be shared, so I will be sharing first authorship with her on the future paper of this project. How are social conflicts, or in humans we also often talk about disagreements, resolved? If we want to look at this from an evolutionary perspective, we can look whether or how animals resolve social conflicts. And if we do so, we quickly come to observe that animals often resolve social conflicts by physical force, by using physical force. And the stronger one, the more dominant one, usually wins. And humans also still get into fights, of course, but we have evolved also another mechanism. We debate, we argue, and we exchange reasons with one another. And to put this in the words of Jürgen Habermas, we are able to use the unforced force of the better argument. And Messier and Sperber proposed that human reasoning has exactly evolved for that reason. They say it's argumentative, and they claim that human reasoning has evolved in a social context, and it is a mechanism so that we can convince others and only be convinced when it's appropriate. And their theory states that the exchange of reasons is human universal, so that humans all over the world do this and engage in debates and exchange reasons with one another. However, often when I present my work on reason giving or reason understanding, I often get this comment, isn't that a very Western perspective? And indeed, there are some scholars who have hypothesized that the exchange of reasons, like deliberation, is a very Western tradition that evolved in classical Greece and was refined during the Enlightenment. So such scholars sometimes say that some cultures are embracing 2 necessary prerequisites for the exchange of reasons, less than Western cultures do. And this is the willingness to embrace contradictions and equality. So for example, some of them say that many Eastern cultures avoid debates that threaten social harmony, and they prefer more conciliatory ways of conflict resolution. And on the other side, in societies with very steep power hierarchies, the exchange of reasons might be compromised because authorities can make decisions without justifying themselves. And since most psychological research, especially work on deliberation, argumentation, has been conducted in the Western world, we don't yet know how this skill of exchanging reason and engaging in debates is actually shared across humans over the world. And to contribute to closing this gap in the literature, we investigated young children from 3 diverse societies, hopefully young enough to be minimally influenced by Western traditions or Western standards that travel across the world over the internet. And we wanted to know whether these children also engage in the exchange of reasons to resolve disagreements. So we ran a study in China, in Kenya, and in the United States. And I'm sorry for stereotyping here a little bit, but China representing more culture for the culture for which social harmony is very highly valued. Kenya representing a culture with rather steep power hierarchies, and the United States representing a very traditional Western culture. And we formulated 3 hypotheses. All 3 of them are pre-registered on OSF. And our main hypothesis was that children across these 3 diverse cultures exchange in the exchange of reasons to resolve disagreements, more so than in situations of agreements. And we had 2 secondary hypotheses as well. We predicted that children engage in more reason giving as they get older. That was based on prior work by Bahar Köymen et al., who have found this effect in Western cultures. And we also predicted that children across the three diverse cultures give fewer reasons after having established common ground. And how did we do this? So we tested 180 diets, in total 360 children between 5 and 9 years of age. That was 60 diets per culture. And we started with 2 training trials. And first we paired the children in same-sex, same-age diets. And then we presented them with 2 boxes, and we told them that in only one of these boxes there are 2 rewards hidden for them, and the other box is empty, and that they can together choose which box they want to have. If they have the right box, they get the rewards. If they choose the wrong box, they get nothing. And then they could discuss for 2 minutes and decide which box they wanted to choose. And in these training trials, the boxes were actually manipulated. The children didn't know this, so that one of the training trials resulted in success, so they found the rewards, and the other in failure. And once the training trials were over, we started the test trials, and half of the diets participated in the agreement condition, and the other half of the diet participated in the disagreement condition. And the procedure was very similar to the training trials, but we added one additional step. So before the children got to discuss, we provided them with evidence where the rewards are hidden. And one of the children got testimonial evidence. So we had 2 experimenters. One experimenter walked with this child into one corner of the room and told them in which of the 2 boxes the rewards are hidden. And the other child got perceptual evidence. So the other experimenter walked to the other corner of the room and let the child actually observe how they were hiding the reward in one of the boxes. And because some kids in China were closing their eyes and they really didn't want to see what was happening, we even asked the kids to close the box so that we ensured that they really saw in which of the box the stickers were hiding. And importantly, in the agreement condition, the evidence was congruent. So both of the evidence, the testimonial and the perceptual evidence, led them to the same box. And in the disagreement condition, this evidence was conflicting. So one child was told that the rewards are in the blue box, for example, and the other child saw that the rewards are hidden in the yellow box. And then they again could discuss for 2 minutes, they came together, could discuss for 2 minutes which box they wanted to choose. And we hypothesized that the exchange of reasons is not really necessary in the agreement condition because they share the same belief and they can quickly decide which box they want to choose. But in the disagreement condition, the exchange of reasons would be necessary for a peaceful settlement of this disagreement. And we recorded these conversations of the kids and transcribed them, and then where necessary, we also translated them. And then we coded whether they stated the source of their knowledge as a reason for their belief. So for example, if the kids said something like, she told me that it's in this box, that was coded as a testimonial reason. If they said something like, I saw her put it in there, that was coded as a perceptual reason. So per trial, the diet could reach a maximum of 2 reasons if they stated both sources of knowledge at least once. And in this analysis, we ignored other types of reasons. For example, like this is my favorite color, or in Kenya, we also had this reason given what God told me to pick this box. And that we completely ignored in this analysis here. And here's one example of how these conversations looked like. That was a diet of 2 7-year-old girls from the United States who participated in a disagreement condition.
Did she tell you, I think it's in this box, or did she say, I know? She didn't say anything, or no, I think, or no, just put 2 boxes. You saw her do that? He told me to close.
Okay, so I think this snippet gives you a feeling of how these conversations looked like. Okay, so coming to our hypothesis, what did we find? So let's first have a look at our main hypothesis, where we predicted that the kids would engage in more exchange of reasons in the disagreement compared to the agreement condition. So we fitted a logistic generalized mix model that allowed for an interaction between condition, culture, and age. And we did find, can you see my mouse here? Yeah. We did find a significant effect of condition, but we did not find a significant interaction of condition and culture. So how does that look like? So here you can see on the y-axis the proportions of reasons given. And 100% means that they have given 2 reasons in both of the trials. And on the x-axis, you can see the different societies, and the conditions in blue, the agreement condition, and in red, the disagreement condition. And as you can see in all cultures, children exchanged more reasons in the disagreement condition compared to the agreement condition. So what we can tell from this is that reason giving seems to be a culturally recurrent phenomenon. Okay, coming to the second hypothesis. So here we were interested in the age effect. So do children exchange more reasons as they get older? And our model revealed a significant effect of age. Again, here we could not find a culture-age interaction. And as you can see here, again on the y-axis is the proportions of reason given. The kids exchanged more reasons, or the older kids exchanged more reasons than the younger kids. And that was the case for all of the cultures, and the cultural differences were not significant. And coming to our last hypothesis, where we were interested whether kids exchange less reasons once they have established common ground. And as I told you earlier, so they participated in 2 of the test trials, and the test trials were exactly the same, meaning that if one child got testimonial evidence in the first test trial, they also got testimonial evidence in the second test trial. So kids could already form some common ground of how they are receiving their information. So it was not so necessary anymore to state this very clearly in the second trial compared to the first trial. So we predicted that they would give more reasons in the first and a little fewer reasons in the second trial. And this is also what we found. We found a significant effect of test trial that was a small but significant effect, and they gave more reasons in the first compared to the second trial. Okay. So what can we conclude from this? To summarize, reason giving seems to be a culturally recurrent phenomenon, which I think is the most important finding of this study. It seems to help us to form common ground, and it seems to increase as we age. And with this, I presented you all my findings, and I thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot. A curiosity about the resolution of the disagreements. I was wondering whether you also look at the extent to which the disagreement was resolved in the direction of the testimonial evidence or the perceptual evidence.
So which box they in the end chose?
Yes.
Well, you asked this question. I have one extra slide. That's the only extra slide that I have. We did. We didn't have any clear hypotheses for this. Let me see. How should I switch this? Because we were wondering whether is the perceptual reason really always a better reason. So we had like big debates within our collaborating group whether that's the case or not. Especially for Kenya, we were wondering whether maybe kids go more for the testimonial reason because it's given by an authority figure, and maybe especially because the power hierarchies are a little bit steeper, it's more important to follow those authorities. But we did not find any significant differences. So those are the results that we found. That's the models, but we did not find anything significant there. So it was not really clear which of the reasons is actually seen as a better reasons, depending on their box choices.
Hi. Here. So you started talking about conflicts, but then the scenario that that kids were facing had to do with basically achieving a common goal, right? So both benefited. Do you have any idea what might happen if there was actual conflict over acquiring resources or something? Would you think that there's similar
That a conflict.
results?
So if there was an actual conflict, sorry, where is the person speaking? Over there. You mean
Because they wanted the same thing, right? It wasn't like only one person could get the resource and they had to figure out who, for example, was more entitled to it or something like this.
No, only one of them. So both of them got a reward. So I don't know. I guess that's an empirical question, but I cannot really answer it right now.
Thank you. Fascinating stuff. So just to try to save those buffoons who argue that Mercier and Sperber are wrong, like I guess they would argue that just what we heard, that like sometimes you have a conflict over who wants one, right? And sometimes the conflict is not about factual stuff, right? So I wonder if, like, do you have any ideas about extending this in the future, where it's not just like there's one wrong and one right answer. It's just like, well, preference and this kind of stuff, which make the room for reasons all the more important, but also more difficult, I guess.
So about opinions, for example, that we discuss about opinions. Yeah, that would be very interesting. I agree. I cannot come up immediately with an experimental design of how I then would do it.
Thank you very much. I was wondering whether you have anything to say or controlled in any way for cultural or, there might be cultural differences between how long the conflicts went, so how often they reproduced the reasons or something like this?
We looked at this. I don't have it on the slides. We looked at the numbers of reasons given, and it was a similar. So we had it. Actually, there was one diet. I remember they exchanged the same reason, actually like 9 or 10 times, but there was no cultural difference.
Thank you so much. So it looked like all of the children were in school. Is that right? And if so, do you think that children who hadn't been to school might have less tendencies to use reasoning in their arguments?
You mean kids who are just unschooled, but the same age? That would be interesting to look at, because yes, we tested at school, so all of them went to schools. I think that would be super interesting. I would now probably predict they do, but it could be that the educational context, of course, also plays a role there. Yeah, we cannot. Yeah.
Thanks. I just wanted to confirm that this is what you have on the screen right now. There's no interaction between age and culture.
No, there was no interaction. Of course, it could be that that was not our main interest. So we were mostly interested in the reason giving. That's what we based our power simulation on. So it could of course be that there's also that we are running into a power issue. But at the moment, we cannot say that there are any differences. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.